I'm sorry, guys. I am so burnt. E3 is like, it's almost here, and it's like I don't mind talking about gear stuff. In fact, this entire stuff here on Gear Talks on a Thursday. By the way, thank you for being here. It's all gear centric, and it gets to the point where you have all this big news about to happen. With E3, we're going to get a ton of stuff for Gears 5. Gears Tactics, we're probably going to get something too. And you just sit here, and it's like, sure, I can keep talking about Gears 5 stuff, what to expect, or what's coming up, or what we know currently after Gears 4. But we just have to keep on waiting and waiting and waiting. And it's just, we're almost there. So I don't want to make it feel like I'm doing these just because I'm trying to make filler for when E3 gets here, but it's like so close, and I'm just getting like, my excitement is killing me to talk about new stuff because all of this has already been talked about before. Again, I started this last October, and there's a video out every single week. I've been running out of stuff slowly. Still have things in the bank, but very slowly just running out completely. Anyway, now that that little tirade is out of the way, welcome, again, Thursday, Gear Talk, as I said before. Today's video, let's talk about who could possibly be taking over as the leader of the Swarm, or who's going to be in charge of everything, because as we have seen, especially after 4, they're going to need somebody, the Swarm, to lead their armies or lead their group, or I don't want to say their species, but I guess kinda it would be. Someone has to be in charge, someone has to be hooked up to the main hive mind. Now, we already had Reyna go through, and we saw what happened to her, and we saw what they pretty much need her for. Because when you have someone who's there, someone who's hooked up to the hive mind, it's pretty much by what we've been shown and what it seems like, what we've learned through 4 and Hive Busters, it seems like the intelligence kind of gets kicked into overdrive. Like, they're thinking a lot more, like, right on point. Like, for instance, the Scion that was, like, the speaker. We don't know exactly if he was always like that, or if he was just some thuggish brute that only knew how to say, like, die or human. For all we know, the way he was talking could have been because of Reyna hooked up, where he's like, if you wish to take her, you must go through me. Because he was speaking, it was still very, like, you could tell by the way his voice was going through. It wasn't like this was, like, how he natively talks. But he was talking very put together, you could say. He was talking in sentences that a human would speak like. You could say the same level of speech that not Mira, we'll get to her in a moment, trust me, that's down the road in this video, but he was speaking in a way that you could say Reyna spoke like. Like, Reyna spoke in a way like how I'm talking right now. The speaker, let's say he only knows how to say, like, die or human. If you hooked her, or even, let's say, me up into the hive mind, they would have the same level of intelligence I currently have. Obviously, they can still learn on their own and everything, but their base intelligence is set to the level of who's ever hooked up into the hive mind. So, I'm going to assume when they put someone in there, let's say people who are compatible, like Reyna, or possibly, if it happens, Kate, then they would have the same level as they would have. And if they hooked up someone normal, let's say they still get a boost to their intelligence, but it's more like you don't get that full level cap just as a base go-in. You're kind of, instead of going in at 100% knowledge for start off, you'd go off like with a 70. And let's say the hive minds, just as they're working right now, only give them like a 30% of what they could possibly fully have. So it's not even like they need a hive mind leader to hook up like, oh, you are a queen, you are a ruler. They mostly need them more just like, we kind of need someone to set the ground level. And the people who work are the people of Mira's bloodline, supposedly. We still need a definite answer for that, and I'm going to hold true until we actually get the info. So, what this video was pretty much talking about is not only what would happen, like I just talked about, but who they could hook up to the hive mind who not only would be compatible, but could possibly be candidates that would work, or people who they would hook up who their intelligence or what they know, because it seems like once you're hooked up into the hive mind, everyone's sharing information, what they know would be greatly improved upon by the person they have hooked up into there. So I do have a list of some people who might work in this instance. The first person that I have down on the list is obviously Kate, because it's obvious that the Swarm, or maybe not they're doing it intentionally to try and get a hold of her, but maybe it's just something that's just happening in general. Like, the Swarm aren't trying to make her come to them, or they're sending her visions. They're not doing that. It's just happening. Or it could be they really are just sending it like, hey, knock, knock on your brain. We kind of need you, and we have a link, so we're kind of going to start sending you signals. It could be something like that. And Kate could be the one at the end of 5 who ends up hooked up to the hive mind. Because someone's going to. It's not like they're just going to be like, oh no, still no one a part of the hive mind. Even though in 4 we've shown that's definitely a thing. That's definitely something they're looking for. Yeah, if Kate was hooked up in the end of 5, I would personally be okay with that. I kind of want that to happen because it gives the hive mind their looming threat, kind of. And as everyone knows, I'm not a big fan of Kate, so, you know, getting rid of Kate in a way I'm 100% fine with. We're making her the main villain. I think she'd be really good as a villain. So, Kate is my go-to, and I think she's the most probable to get hooked up into the hive mind at the end of 5. Next up, we have JD. Now, JD has been thrown around a bit because he has the infection that's on his arm, or whatever it is that's on his arm. It might not even be swarm-related, I've heard someone say, but I think it is. Whatever's up with that, it could be now he's getting signals somehow, or he's getting minor visions compared to what Kate's getting, or something. Maybe he's being drawn. Maybe he's going to self-sacrifice himself at the end to save Kate from the swarm, and he ends up hooked up there, and he's like the swarm king, I've also heard. So JD could work. I really don't have a problem with that. It's just that, well, no, now that I think about it, I think it would work kind of well because his character evolution from 4, 5, and once we get 6 would be main hero, self-sacrifice, and finally being taken out at the very end. It could be anything like that. I think it would work well for his character, really. JD, it seems like his character is definitely evolving. Maybe a little quick right now, but still, it's evolving in a decent direction. With Kate and Del, it really doesn't seem like their characters have gone that far. I really hope for a lot more from Del and just Kate, anything that would make me happy. So JD is also a possible candidate, and I do see that as a probability of happening. Now, the next person on the list I have is Marcus. Now, this one was a little odd when I first heard about it, with the Marcus situation of him leading the swarm, but after it was kind of explained, and definitely when you take a look at the swarm, and it seems like they could hook anyone into that hive mind, they just need like the correct candidate, you could say, like with Kate's possible bloodline. What people said with Marcus is like, Marcus knows how to lead armies. He knows how to lead people. He's a military genius. So if you put Marcus in charge, the swarm military-wise would just be unstoppable. I'm not even going to say I'm on the fence with this. I'm just a complete 50-50. And not even a 50-50 for yes or no. Just 50-50 of like, it could happen. It definitely, Marcus being a part of the swarm, I would hate it because Marcus is such a staple in the Gears franchise, but if you did it, it would make sense. He does lead extremely well, and he's, you know, not only has he led a squad, he's led giant bulks of the military. Like, if you read the books, he's given commands to a lot more than just Delta Squad. So Marcus is a definite probability. Again, same thing as JD. I see him as a self-sacrifice. I don't see him just purposely being like, hey, you know, I'm good to go with the swarm. Now, he was hooked up into their network, so I don't see it like it's going to be an out-of-the-nowhere kind of thing. It's like, well, he was hooked up, and it's not like he doesn't have a connection. I don't know if he still does, but definitely when he was in his pod, he was connected. He even states he was there. He could sense people's lives coming and going. So it's not like Marcus doesn't have a connection. Maybe once you're connected, it's like an addiction. He yearns to be a part of it again. I don't know, but Marcus is definitely a probability just because he's been a part of not the hive mind, but the network itself. So Marcus, even though I think the chances are kind of low, there are definitely chances it could still be Marcus. The last person I have on my list of people who could lead, I have a few other people I'm going to mention in a moment, but for something else, Mira. Now, this one's really up in the air for a lot of reasons because of the fact that Mira's dead. It's no argument she's gone. You know, I've heard people say, well, what happened to the body and all this? She's dead. I made a video if she was human or not, and I'm kind of leaning towards the yes, but we don't really know what else because she's not 100%. But I don't, like, the waves went off and she was unaffected. You know, she was right point blank at the thing. The strongest waves you could get hit by. Adam got turned to goddamn dust. Mira was fine. But then again, you stab into her, she's got some like orangish, yellowish goop going on. So my guess is she's dead. Like, I don't know what the situation with her is. I hope we get a lot more of that in 5, but she's gone. I think if for some reason the Coalition decides, hey, let's have zombie Mira come back from the dead in perfect health, even though she was never crystallized 25 years later, to now lead the swarm, and she will hook herself up into the network at the hive mind. I mean, I guess they could do it. I mean, they've stated they're going to go for fun over canon. And I'm not saying that they're not going to just disregard the end of 3, because there's a difference between disregarding canon and just throwing the entire story out the window. There's a difference. I don't really want Mira to come back because her story's kind of done. If they bring her up in a bunch of flashbacks and there's a flashback prologue to the game, do it. That sounds amazing. 100% with that. But I think her current part in the story is over. Her stuff is done. So she could, but I would be kind of against it. So that's what I have for the characters that could be coming to lead the swarm. And like I said, I got some things to finish off with, like the people who I know just aren't going to be leading the swarm at all. Del won't. He has so much to work for his character. There's no point in putting him there. The most bland character you currently have in the current franchise is gone, and he's now leading the major army. I don't think that's a smart move. And I also have Hoffman. Hoffman is a genius for leading armies too. He would definitely be a good candidate, but with what he's currently doing in like Hive Busters and his age, I don't see them really taking him and utilizing him, because even the swarm, I have to say, like, this guy is like, he's gonna die if someone blows him over. It's like there's no point. It's like, have a leader that'll only last for like maybe another few years tops. Nah. So just because Hoffman's old age, and Del, because he hasn't even been built upon, I just don't see it as working for those guys. So those are just like a few examples of the characters that won't work. Obviously, like, I don't know, Anthony and Benjamin Carmine aren't going to work, because one had a hole blown through his head and the other one has pretty much no back except for a spine that's been dissolved. So take it as you will. And that's going to do it for what I think is going to happen with 5, with who could possibly lead if they do have a leader. It really does seem like they are going towards there will be a leader of the swarm. Now, they have never stated where the main hive mind is, and as I said in the last video, there's a good chance that that was going to be the main one Reyna was hooked up to, but after it was taken down and they had all these other hive minds, it's like, we might as well just hook this up to something, to a different one, make another one the main one. And they never destroyed the hive mind at the end of 4. They cut Reyna out, but they never just like got rid of it. I'm sure later on they did. Like the moment the screen went black, they're like, okay, let's load the charges and get rid of this place. We're done here. I'm sure they did that. I mean, Baird's not an idiot, and he was there. So, yeah. Can't wait for E3. I think I got one more video to let out before E3 gets here. Maybe 2. I hope not. E3's coming, guys. We're going to get a lot of new stuff. A lot of things are going to blow up for the Gears community. I can't wait to see what happens. I'll see you guys in the next Gear Talk video. Like, comment, subscribe, like, follow. I said like twice. That's the 4th time. Just enjoy liking everything. You guys have a great one. See you next Thursday.